This all starts with a man named Paul Rudnick. Who is that? He's a screenwriter and a playwright, and he is responsible for a number of past episodes of the show. Lacey's movies, Lacey doesn't remember the names of directors, but way even less so does she remember screenwriters and producers. But there are a handful of producers and writers who are responsible for a lot of Lacey's movies.
I'm learning I have load-bearing writers, including you, husband, who is a writer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And producer, notorious piece of shit, Scott Rudin, is responsible for a ton of movies that Lacey loves. But Paul Rudnick, who would go on to write The First Wives Club, check out episode 85. I think that's one of our very best episodes. And Addams Family Values, episode 91. He wrote both of those movies. And he, in 2009, basically wrote an essay about his experience writing this movie. And he's very bitter about the way it turned out because he feels like his vision got totally trampled and neutered. And I can certainly see why he feels that way. Mm-hmm. But I think that the final product is really good. And I guess I certainly feel bad that you start off with one thing, they change it, and then everybody loves what they did with it. So go check this article out in the New Yorker. We'll link to it, but he wrote his essay about how this all started. And he said, from the article, quote, "Why is a guy in a gown, I wondered, funnier than a woman in a 3-piece suit? I tried to imagine a disguise or transformation that might be more fun for a female star, and my thoughts turned to nuns. Nuns can be dictatorial, sexually repressed, and scary, and therefore entertaining. I pictured a lower-rung showgirl who witnesses a gangland hit. To protect her, the feds hide her in a convent, and because it's a comedy, she's forced to wear a habit. I was inspired by gender-swapping classics like Some Like It Hot." End quote.
I mean, you did it. I mean, I know she's not a showgirl, but she's a girl that does shows.
You wouldn't call her a show? I mean, what is a showgirl?
A showgirl is like a dancing person with like the big, headdress and stuff. Like, I mean, it's your classic Vegas high kicking.
Okay.
Showing all their skin.
Yeah, maybe because it talks a lot about.
Remember the movie Showgirls? We have an episode on.
We don't have an episode on it.
We should.
I agree. I also
fucking love that movie.
On my list, we're going to be doing commentaries in the future, and that's a movie I have top of the list of movies we should do a commentary on.
Yes.
He talks a lot about all the Disney executives being like, well, you want it to be this, but could instead it be nicer and more like this? So I could totally see him being like, she should be a showgirl or a stripper or something who has to become a nun.
Yes.
But Disney, who is the studio that produced this movie under their Touchstone label, says we have the perfect woman to star in this movie. And so it all gets set up with Bette Midler to play the nun.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a different movie.
And her overall deal is at Disney, so it's all going to work out. I like this quote that he has in his essay. He said, I wrote a treatment, which is a studio term for summarize the story in less than 2 pages so that an executive's assistant can boil it down to 1 paragraph on a Post-it, and please refer to all characters by the names of the stars who should play them but never will. End quote. He said, quote, my plan was for Sister Act to subvert the sort of prissy uplift. He talks about nun movies like The Sound of Music or The Song of Bernadette. They're all a certain thing, and he just wanted to spoof that. Wanted to spoof the image of the nun and of the nun movies and all the tropes that go along with nun movies. So he said, quote, I wanted our heroine to embody raunch, sex, and the unstoppable gospel of cheap showbiz. It would be pop versus Pope, and pop in a barrage of sequins, wisecracks, and Marlboro Lights would win. That's how addled and innocent I was, because I actually believed that Disney would make a movie that tried to subvert the Catholic Church. End quote.
They did not.
They did not. Bette Midler said, Paul, you need to do some research. So go stay in a convent and learn what that's like. So he did go stay in a convent for 2 days. My read of his experience is that he found nuns to be very boring.
Yeah.
Bette Midler eventually drops out. It looked like the project was going to die, but then Whoopi Goldberg revived it. And Emil Ardolino was hired to direct. He had previously directed Dirty Dancing. See episode number 99.
You're nailing this, love.
Mark Shaman was hired to do the music. And he's another figure who keeps coming up in your movies.
Does
he did
he?
The music for the Addams Family movies, for the First Wives Club, but also the South Park movie. He was like Trey Parker's entree into the world of show tunes.
And I think the arrangement of these songs are what made this movie like a home run for you, because we easily could have lost you in the musical performances if they weren't done in an engaging way. But I think they're so comically done, so beautifully balanced and interesting. There's comedy, there's just talent. There's just I love all the arrangements. It keeps you along for the whole ride. You can't get bored.
It's funny, but I think that the first time she takes over the choir and is teaching them all, like, you this section's going to sing this chord, I found it like really moving and like really beautifully done.
Yeah.
And like helps you understand this is how choirs actually work, and this is what the different components of it do, and this is how they all interact to form a.
And like I might come from this walk of life and you from this one, but when it comes to music, there's only one way to speak it correctly. And so it doesn't matter who the teacher, I mean, it matters who the teacher is, and that teacher can come from anywhere because you have the same goal, which is to reach the crowd you're speaking to.
Yeah,
and that's important in the opening number that she's doing with her two people in her girl group. Is she's making tons of faces the whole time. And as a kid, I didn't totally know what those faces meant. But like, she's yearning to reach. She's yearning to touch her audience and like engage with these old men sitting at their little, their little slot machines, not even looking at her once. Mm-hmm. And so she wants to reach, they want to reach for just different reasons.
That will always be touching to me is musicians performing to nobody or to indifferent people, as a musician who has done that many times, and hey, as podcasters who made a podcast for nobody for a long time and now to a few people.
Shut up.
But I love that it's not like if she ever like led a choir before, the movie doesn't tell us, like this isn't actually something she's trained to do, but she knows music, she knows singing, and she's hesitant, but she pulls it off. And I think that's why I found it so touching.
Right. She's not some kind of ringer like it's suggested. She's not, they don't make her overly qualified or anything. She just has a total ear for this and knows how to use the talent at her disposal. Usually it's just her. And you see that in the arrangement that she does in the opening number at the Reno casino. It's a very cool, like, what am I calling? Not a smash up, but like, 1.5 minutes of each song. And then it wraps around with the song they started with in a cool way. I don't know. They show you her ability to arrange things in an engaging way right away.
In a way that doesn't, like, she's not being bossy or even like super confident about it, but it's like she's figuring it out as she goes, but she's good at it, so she can
natural
do it.
To her. It's natural to her, but life hasn't treated her exactly as she expected yet, and she hasn't really gotten very far, so that cocky, there's no overconfidence, because so far, no good.
I love that she doesn't become a nun, actually, for real, at the end of the movie. I was worried, is it like Kindergarten Cop, where he actually decides I'm going to be a kindergarten teacher in the end?
I had blocked that out.
But people finding ways to do what they love in less than ideal circumstances is always nice to see. Okay, I will read one more thing from the article by Paul Rudnick. He did not have a good time. The script was written. They had him rewrite the script 1 billion times. And he says, quote, "My rewrites were less rewarding. The studio notes poured down. Dolores needs to be more sympathetic. Dolores needs to teach the nuns, but she needs to learn something too. This movie isn't about nuns. It's about friends. Could Dolores help a needy child? Does Dolores need a dog? Can we have a montage where Dolores and the nuns bond while painting a colorful anti-drug mural? The Disney notes were always phrased in the most positive, gee, wouldn't it be great if tone. And that was the problem. It was like being trampled to death by cheerleaders." End quote. Love that.
That is perfect.
He eventually quit and said he did not want his name on the movie. Disney said, "But you're the writer." So they put a pseudonym. Joseph Howard is what he's credited as. Some uncredited script polishers included Carrie Fisher, who Lacey hates.
Stop saying who I love and hate. Fuck God.
And Nancy Myers,
who I hate. Love her kitchens.
All right, let's talk about Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg, who is 36 years old at the time and is 5'5".
Thank you.
Was coming off the Best Supporting Actress Oscar for Ghost. I've still never seen Ghost. It's a giant blind spot for me. I thought I might see it this time, but
I think I'll be too sad to watch
seemed a little. I didn't want to watch a movie about death.
Yeah.
But hey, how about this? Whoopi Goldberg was diagnosed with dyslexia as an adult.
Hey.
And she dropped out of high school after a teacher said she was intellectually disabled.
Yep.
Okay, she was born Karen Elaine Johnson in New York City in 1955. She is one of 19 performers to have won the EGOT.
No, so I mean, she's done she's gotten something for Broadway, something for network television, and something for a movie and a Grammy.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep. Emmy,
Grammy, Oscar, Tony.
Yeah.
And I do also love that she keeps her New York accent in everything that she does. Basically, I knew she was from New York without asking.
The famous story that gets told about her being because she's on Star Trek The Next Generation. She's a well-known Star Trek fan. The story that always gets told is when she was a kid, she saw Nichelle Nichols, who played Uhura on Star Trek in the 1960s Star Trek series. And she said, Mom, there's a black lady on TV and she's not a maid. And that's like what inspired her to eventually want to play the character Guinan on Star Trek The Next Generation. The thing I've seen her the most in is Star Trek, and like she played the character last year on the last season of Picard. I thought like she's just so goddamn good. I wish she would act more these days. Okay, but a little bit about her career. At age 25, she moved to Berkeley, California, got involved in the local theater and improv communities, and she developed a one-woman show called The Spook Show. And then she started touring that nationwide, and it was eventually seen by the director, Mike Nichols, director of The Graduate, who helped her take the show to Broadway, and it became a big hit.
Oh, wow.
Steven Spielberg saw it, and he invited her to audition as the lead in The Color Purple. She got the role, and she is the lead in The Color Purple, which was a big hit and a critical and commercial hit. It got a ton of Oscar nominations. She got the Best Actress nomination. I think it was a bit of an upset that she didn't win because she was sort of positioned. Finally, a black woman is going to win Best Actress. It didn't happen, and it would not happen until 2001 when Halle Berry won. Roger Ebert called that role one of the most amazing debut performances in movie history. And we did an episode on it, episode 20 or 42. It's one of Lacey's movies. I remember not being that big on that movie when we watched it then, but a few years ago, I watched every Steven Spielberg movie in order. So I went back to it and I liked it way more that time. And especially thought she is just so good in that.
She's so good at bringing the realistic, elevating moments that we all build into hard situations. That her comedic side is so helpful.
Her giant personality is not in Seeley in The Color Purple at all because it's such a demure character.
But comedy is. Yeah, yes, right, totally. But there are definitely moments where she elevates lifts their spirit because she's lifting her own.
Yes, she like you can see obviously this character has a giant interior life.
Yeah,
that could come out in a different world.
Right. That's a good way to put it.
And that's why, I mean, there's just no other performance like it. Okay, I'll read some more. This is from a 2022 New York Times profile of Whoopi Goldberg by Jasmine Hughes. I will link to it. It's a good profile. It said after The Color Purple, quote, even after this triumph, the film industry didn't quite know what to do with her. Was she the next Eddie Murphy or a black woman hired to teach white people important lessons? Or the person to call when Shelley Long was unavailable. She had been tasked with spit shining the junk given to her. In Theodore Rex, a film she was contractually obligated to complete, she played a detective assigned to an investigation with a dinosaur, but she still became a punchline. The comedian Sam Kinison joked in an interview that Whoopi Goldberg is what happens when a nation is afraid to hurt a person's feelings. It wasn't just that she was black and a woman. It was that no one knew exactly what kind of woman she was. Dreadlocks, Jewish last name, old man's clothes, a smile that could blow out an electrical grid. Did she have sex appeal? And what would the industry do with her if she didn't? Worse, what would it do with her if she did? Even in her turns as a romantic lead in films like Made in America or Fatal Beauty, where she played opposite white men, her characters always stayed chaste. End quote. I assumed her movie career was much bigger, but I looked back at it, look at the filmography, and it's a lot of movies you've never heard of and a lot of flops.
I have another one I can add to our list, Karina.
Well, I've never even heard of that.
It's her and fucking from Goodfellas, Ray Liotta.
Yeah. Okay.
She's the love interest with him. I mean, she's a lot more, and that just turns into it. But yeah, you just made me think. Like, yeah, they always awkwardly handle her when it comes to romance. It feels like they didn't know what to do with her.
And I remember all the jokes people made about when she dated Ted Danson.
She dated Ted Danson in real life?
Yeah. I just thought that was that New York Times piece did a good job of summing up like the dilemma.
Yeah.
It's like somebody comes out so big, so successfully, and then Hollywood's like, I don't know what to do with this.
Right.
Because if we put her in, because this is the way they think, if we put her in a movie as a romantic lead opposite a black man, then it's just a black movie for black people. If we put her with a white man, that makes it like an important issues movie. What do we do? She's clearly a very good dramatic actress, so we just got to put her in comedies. And
she became like a cop in one or two things, right? Jumpin' Jack Flash something.
Jumpin' Jack
Flash. I don't know. I just assume like just put her in charge of something and give her a fucking mission. Why does she have to be opposite anybody that wants to fuck her or not fuck her? Oh, good. Just make her dead. Then no one can fuck her.
She wanted to play the medium.
Oh, wait, she's not dead in this.
No.
She's not dead.
But the producers wouldn't audition her, and Patrick Swayze apparently threatened to pull out of the movie if she wasn't considered.
Oh, wow.
So they gave her a shot.
Good.
They cast her. The movie was the biggest hit of the year. She won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Then she did Sister Act and Sister Act 2, and they were both huge hits.
Yep.
But the movie star run was much briefer than I realized. And I guess if I ever thought about her movie star career, I assumed like, well, she wanted to do other things like be on The View.
The View.
But I'm like collapsing all of history. I had totally forgotten about in 2004, she got in a lot of trouble there was a fundraiser for John Kerry. It was a fundraiser for him, and she was there with some other comedians, and she made some jokes about Bush's name being Bush.
Yeah.
And her actual, like what she said was never actually printed. Everybody just said she made the most offensive comments, and she was basically canceled for this.
Jesus Christ. They just were looking for a reason.
But there were like Janine Garofalo got in a ton of trouble for questioning the Iraq war in 2003.
I mean, it was so fresh. Yeah, I guess we were hot into the we do not question government or anyone in charge, especially not anyone touching the war.
The Dixie Chicks.
Propaganda was strong. Yeah.
Unlike now, where
no, I just it seems like people get canceled for much more outrageous things now. I feel like you could do this now. You could. It seems like making fun of the president is what you do, no matter what political side you're on, and even when the president's on your quote unquote political side.
I think if we were going to war, I think that it would be seen like the actress from Scream who made some pretty benign comments questioning America's support for a foreign war.
But wait, that's different from saying something about, I'm saying people say some stuff about Biden constantly.
Yes, but I think that if Biden were leading the United States into war, I think the tone would be completely different.
I got you.
And the Dixie Chicks also got canceled
for
making fun of Bush. Like, I know the right wing loves to complain about how the left gets cancel culture, but like, this is also what happens all the time.
Right.
This 2022 New York Times piece said, the author said she was finally able to find what Whoopi actually said. And Whoopi had always said, like, I don't mind getting in trouble for something I said.
Right.
But I didn't say what they're saying I said. I was like making like Bush like a pussy or whatever, or like jokes. They were jokes. They're not what you're making them out to be. And so then this writer finally tracked them down. And here's from the article. Quote, when Bush comes to shove, don't whine, Whoopi Goldberg told the crowd. Vote Kerry. And that's why I'm here tonight, because I love Bush. But someone's giving Bush a bad name. Someone has tarnished the name of Bush. Someone has waged war. Someone has deliberately misled the country. Someone has attempted to amend the Constitution, all in the name of Bush. The Bush I know and cherish would never do such things. My Bush is smarter than that. If my Bush is smarter than that, you can understand just how dumb I think that other Bush is. Vote your mind and your heart and keep Bush where it belongs, pointing at her crotch. End quote. And she's like, yeah, I told you. They were just jokes. Not worth getting canceled.
Also, she's clearly differentiating between Bush as a person and the kind of Bush she likes, which is her own. Mm-hmm. Right. So she's not even saying Bush is a vagina. She's just using them interchangeably, and you're supposed to know which one she's talking about.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure her being a woman and a black woman and very outspoken certainly contributes to sort of the pitchforks people have for her, even though she does say dumb shit. Like a few years ago, she got in trouble for saying that the Holocaust didn't have anything to do with race. She was suspended from The View for 2 weeks for that. But the author of the New York Times piece points out her job is to go on a talk show every day for 2 hours and the panel on that talk show is like every person is selected because they represent a different demographic and political position. You're just supposed to go out there and wing it, but never say anything wrong or iffy. It's
uninformed or misspeak and misspeak on something very important, and a sound bite of death when taken out of context of I've never made this mistake before.
And she says, I've said dumb shit. I don't mind getting in trouble or being held accountable for things I've actually said.
Right.
Anyway, she helped produce the Sister Act musical, which was huge. And she did play the Mother Superior role in the play for a limited number of engagements.
And you knew it was a musical.
I did. Yeah. So that's the history for this very fun movie that I look forward to talking about.
Yay.